Good evening. It is time for today's Tax Talk. It is Thursday, May 19th, the year of our Lord 2022. And the IRS has another report came out today, a new report about data protection. Also, a congressional hearing dealing with the IRS. We're going to talk about both of those issues here on today's Tax Talk. Won't you join us? So, another day, another IRS event. There's lots of congressional hearings on the matters with the IRS. Over and over, we hear that the IRS is understaffed, underfunded, it's not their fault. There's so much going on. I had somebody in here yesterday. They were telling me, the IRS is so understaffed. It's amazing that they can. And then I asked the question, what's their budget? Do you know what their budget is? Do you know what their budget is? Well, let me go to the, let's go to the board. Let's find out what their budget is. This is the story I want to talk about, but first let's look. This is the IRS budget. It's listed here at $12,316,275,000. But there's supplementals here of they also had a supplemental appropriation of $765.7 million and $438.5 million. That's another $1 billion, over $1 billion. So let's say it's $13.5 billion. Let's say it's $13 billion. That other $500 million. I mean, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to function with the $500 million? So anyway, this is from the IRS's own numbers. These are their numbers. And this next year, in 2022, their budget's $14 billion more. They just gave them another $475 million. I mean, they don't even, was it $1 billion? It's amazing. They talk millions, billions. Now we're talking trillions. I mean, what's the difference? There's let's go back to the stories here. There's a story here. Did you know the IRS budget was $12 million a year? That's billion with a B. So no, people don't generally understand that. And they keep hearing over and over the mantra that the IRS is underfunded, understaffed. It's not their fault. They can't do anything. Their technology stinks. They don't have enough people. They're losing people left and right. They can't get anybody they can't hire anybody. They keep going back to their technology. It's not their fault. We talked the other day about the billions or millions of returns that were destroyed, 30 million returns. And they said, well, it's because of their technology. It stinks. They had no choice but to delete the 30, actually it was paper, so they destroyed 30 million information returns without processing them. But don't worry, they're going to process all of them this year. They promised. It's becoming kind of a game. They can't answer the phone. They can't process returns. Right? They can't process those. They can't scan. Remember, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. We had the story about them learning how to scan. They have to get scanners so they can scan these documents. And that was in response. That's before they revealed the report that in March 2021 that they had destroyed 30 million paper returns. Well, if we only had a scanner, well, maybe we should get a scanner. I mean, we should think about that beforehand. Now, again, easy for me, right? I'm not dealing with a $14 billion organization, so how am I supposed to? I'm just an attorney. What do I know? But let's go to the stories. Actually, what I want to do first, let's go to the report like we did the other day. This is a new report. And this is the GAO, the Government Accountability Office again. IRS security of taxpayer information. Characteristics of employee unauthorized access and disclosure cases. Now, remember this ProPublica recently came out with the tax returns for 10 years of the United States wealthiest people. and all of their tax returns. How did they get those tax returns? I don't even know if there is a investigation underway in the IRS to determine how those tax returns were revealed. But they're not the only ones. I was actually kind of surprised at the number that they weren't much higher, to be quite honest with you. Does that mean there aren't more? No, I don't think it doesn't. It means that there's not more. And the way that they characterize this is also, I think, is a little disingenuous. Our tax system administered by the IRS is based largely on voluntary compliance. One factor that may influence voluntary compliance includes whether taxpayers feel confident that personal and financial information they provide IRS is properly safeguarded. Do you feel that it is? What's your confidence level when it comes to safeguarding your information? Do you think that people in the government can access your information? Or do you think it's protected like it's supposed to be? By law, it is protected. Federal tax information consists of federal tax returns and return information that is in the IRS's possession or control and is covered by confidentiality protections and safeguards in Section 6103 of the Internal Revenue Code. The code defines and protects the confidentiality of information taxpayers provide to IRS and criminalizes certain violations of this confidentiality. The willful unauthorized inspection of taxpayer returns or return information by employees and contractors authorized to receive federal taxpayer information is a crime. The willful unauthorized disclosure of a taxpayer's return or return information is also a crime. Well, you couldn't disclose it if you didn't access it. So that's a double crime, right? Recent news reported on tax return information and stated that the news organization had a large amount of IRS tax data on certain types of taxpayers. In light of this, you asked us to review IRS's policies for protecting tax data. This report describes IRS's processes for safeguarding federal tax information, as well as what is known about cases of willful unauthorized access, attempted access, or inspection of federal tax information, and unauthorized disclosure of federal tax information by IRS employees, with the exception of the IRS Chief Counsel employees. Our report is presented in a question and answer format. The first half of the question described IRS's processes for safeguarding federal tax information. Our analysis of what is known about cases of UNAX and unauthorized disclosure by IRS employees follows that part. I'm not going to go into this. This is a very long report, again, with many graphs and acknowledgments and responses, and all of that is in here. But let's go to the summary. There's a good summary of this. So that's what we'll do. The Internal Revenue Service has investigated nearly 1,700 cases of unauthorized access of tax data by its own employees in the past decade. Again, that seems low to me. It seems they have 76,000 employees. At 1,700 cases, that's 170 cases a year. That seems low. It seems like it'd be much higher than that. Now, don't get me wrong. These are wrong. 1,700 is too many. And these are just those that are investigated. How many never get caught? Why would we have 1,700 people that felt that they could do this without getting caught? Why is that? And over 1/4 of them turned out to be in violations that typically led to employee being suspended, fired, or resigning. They don't tell us which it is. They say this is criminal activity, but they don't tell us how many were prosecuted, how many were fired. Some were suspended or some resigned, but how many? I don't see that in the report. I'll have to go through the report a little bit more thoroughly. A report released Thursday, this is the report that we just were reading off of, found the IRS completed 1,694 investigations into willful unauthorized access of tax data between fiscal years 2012 and 2021 by employees, and 7% were found to be violations. Such access is against the law and could lead to criminal prosecution. Did it lead to criminal prosecutions? We don't know. The report arrives at a time when the IRS has come under fire from Congress and tax professionals for backlogs in processing tax returns. The destruction of 30 million paper information return documents and the difficulty of reaching IRS employees by phone. Lawmakers have also demanded answers from the IRS about potential taxpayer confidentiality leaks in response to reports from the investigative news site ProPublica about the tax avoidance strategies used by billionaires such as Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, George Soros, Michael Bloomberg, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Rupert Murdoch, Peter Thiel, and others. If they can't protect theirs, are they going to protect yours, if anybody's interested? I'd say no. Federal tax returns include confidential information, such as Social Security numbers, said the report. IRS employees are responsible for accessing federal tax information only when it's required for their job. If they access federal tax information otherwise, they could be removed from their job and face criminal and civil penalties. Do they? This GAO report noted that several offices at the IRS share responsibilities for overseeing policies and practices that protect federal tax information. IRS employees are usually responsible for accessing federal tax information only when it's required to complete their official duties. Workers also play a role in protecting the confidentiality and privacy of taxpayer information to which they have access. If IRS employees access tax information that is not part of their assigned duties or is otherwise prohibited, then this access is unauthorized, said the report. Unauthorized access can either be considered inadvertent or willful. UNAX is willful unauthorized access, attempted access, or inspection of tax returns or tax information. Similarly, disclosures of tax information that are not authorized can be considered inadvertent or willful. The Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration probes suspected unauthorized access or unauthorized disclosure incidents to decide whether the incident can be substantiated. Most of the time, this organization finds out about the incidents when someone reports an incident or through its own analysis of IRS reports, both of which can originate from a number of sources. If TIGTA finds sufficient evidence to suggest an authorized access or disclosure violation happened, it refers the case to the Justice Department to decide whether it wants to pursue prosecution. The TIGTA also gives the IRS the information it collected during its investigation. IRS employees are subject to criminal penalties for unauthorized access and disclosure violations, and those could include imprisonment or fines. Did they? They don't tell us. IRS investigates the incidents and, when appropriate, sets the penalty for IRS employees who committed unauthorized access and disclosure violations. In cases where the IRS determines they warrant disciplinary action, the employee's management team decides on the appropriate penalties. IRS policy generally requires removal of the employee to be proposed for all unauthorized access violation. A similar IRS policy says removal is an appropriate penalty for willful unauthorized disclosure violations. But did they remove them? About 1/4 of the cases investigated in the time period reviewed by the GAO were ultimately substantiated. Between fiscal year 2012 and 2021, IRS completed 1,694 investigations of employee discipline cases that included an unauthorized access issue. More than half of these cases originated in the IRS's Wage and Investment Division, while 30% of the cases came from the IRS's Small Business Self-Employment Division. And of the 1,694 cases, 12% also included an unauthorized disclosure issue. The IRS substantiated 27% of those cases as violations, and about 24% of the 204 unauthorized disclosure cases. Of the past 10 fiscal years, it has taken TIGTA and IRS, on average, a total of 464 days, or over a year, right? Do the math, to investigate and close unauthorized cases. The majority of unauthorized access and disclosure violations during fiscal years were committed by non-managerial employees. Managers accounted for less than 10% of the unauthorized access and under 15% of unauthorized disclosure violations. During the same period, permanent full-time employees committed most unauthorized access. Well, of course, that's what should be expected. More than 82% of the unauthorized access violations led to the offending employee's suspension, resignation, or removal. Okay, which one? A suspension? resignation or removal. It's a big difference. If you're going to remove them all, that's one. I think that's a big deterrent. If you're nearly suspending them, well, maybe that's not a big deterrent. In all the cases where the IRS found employees committed both unauthorized access and disclosure violations, the offending employee was suspended, resigned, or removed. Again, which one? In response to the report, because if they did both of those and they were all removed, wouldn't it say that? Resigned or removed? In response to the report, the IRS said it takes its responsibility to prevent unauthorized access and disclosure seriously and has created a monitoring system to identify such incidents. I think they should have done that a long time ago. The vast majority of IRS employees take their charge to protect employees. I'm not going to read the last paragraph because it's just propaganda. Don't worry, they're doing the best they can, and we take it seriously, and we'll go after them, and our employees are great. Okay, so here's another story, and I'm not going to be able to read the whole thing because we don't have the time, but I just wanted to point it out. Another one, and they describe it the same way. IRS under fire over wasted billions of dollars and millions in backlogs. And just to start, the lawmakers continued to raise concerns about the Internal Revenue Service at the congressional hearing this week as the agency deals with billions in misspent dollars, hefty processing backlogs, and complaints over poor customer service. Lawmakers lobbed questions at the tax collecting agency during the House Ways and Means Oversight Subcommittee. If you ever watch this on C-SPAN, again, a lot of them are softball questions. They're, the ranking members are on their side. They want to give them twice the money. Elizabeth Warren wants to double the size of the IRS. Think of that. Rice said the agency has 16 million unprocessed returns. Critics have blasted the agency for months for its backlog of millions of returns. Others pointed to the poor customer service at the IRS, an agency that has struggled to keep up with the volume from Americans asking for help. I believe that the most significant unfairness facing American taxpayers right now is the lack of customer service at the IRS. At the same time, IRS phone service levels are near an all-time low, making it nearly impossible to reach an IRS agent for help with tax or audit matters. Many taxpayers have been waiting for resolutions to their tax filings and receive long overdue refunds. This is unfair and needs to be fixed. Lawmakers from both parties have sent a series of letters to the IRS asking questions and looking for solutions. A bipartisan group of over 100 members of Congress sent a letter to the IRS in March about some of these issues. We remain concerned that the IRS does not have a comprehensive plan to remedy the numerous problems affecting taxpayers, despite the fact that this filing season is already well underway. The lawmakers wrote to the IRS commissioner. For example, this is a continued confusion about which notices may be unilaterally suspended by the IRS. We talked about that on this show, that the IRS stopped sending the messages. Rather than get people angry because they're wrong, they just don't send them. Beyond the notices, the IRS has already suspended, among other issues. A group of Republicans sent a similar letter in January. Since the start of the pandemic, members of Congress have been expressly concerned about the unfolding crisis and urging you to take action to resolve the backlog as soon as possible. We understand that at this point, significant trade-offs may be required at the agency to meaningfully reduce the backlog in the next few weeks, and we think that time for such trade-offs and drastic action is now. This was back in January. The IRS has defended its work, pointing out that it was given an array of new responsibilities, and this is all true, that they were given new responsibilities. So anyway, I'm not. That's only a couple of small, and it's just the IRS telling you why it's okay. Okay, so anyway, that's where we are. We're fighting the IRS. The IRS is fighting us. Here's the truth. It's a huge government bureaucracy. What do you expect? Do you we want them to be efficient. We want all government agencies to be efficient. Are they? Can they be? The answer is no. They've never been. They never will be. We could double the size. That's just going to do more than double the waste because they'll have nothing but money. They're wasting billions now, and they want to go after you. They want to look at your bank statements every year. They want to look at everything you do under a microscope. Make sure you're not cheating while they cheat and waste your money and access your data willy-nilly. I just think it's a terrible thing. And again, can you stop it? The answer is no. You can slow it down. You can prevent some, but you're never going to stop it. That's the nature of government. We all know that. And so do we recognize the nature of government and then take appropriate steps to protect the taxpayers? Or do we just give them a blank check and let them do whatever they want? Taxpayers be damned. That's our choice. Let's help make the choice. We have some input with our vote. So think about that next time we vote. So thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. It is ask you to like and subscribe. It's time to ask you to get our content out to people. We need your help to do so. So we're going to ask you to do so. Thank you so much. And remember, if you have an IRS problem, you know if you owe the IRS money. You know if you haven't filed your tax returns. You know this. And maybe you don't know what to do. And you're like, what should I do? Well, here's the first thing you should do. Get a copy of my book, Deal with Your IRS Problem Today. Go to freeirsbook.com, freeirsbook.com. That's freeirsbook.com. Get your free copy. So thanks so much. Tomorrow is Friday. We do the Watch Talk Radio podcast. You can join us there about 2:15. So thanks so much again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow on the Watch Talk Radio or Monday back for today's Tax Talk. Thank you so much.